Look at that. Oh man. We are talking good food right there. Hey, this is corned beef, cabbage, potatoes, and carrots. If you want to learn how to make this one, watch this video. It's a tasty treat. Hey, today we are going to go over the basics of how to cook a corned beef. Now first of all, let's get into what is a corned beef. And I have one here that's packaged. This is the way you're going to find them. You're going to find them packaged up. And I'm not going to show you the other side because I'm not into touting labels or brands. So, a corned beef is a beef product or a piece of beef that has been pickled. Okay, that's what that means. And it's pretty much in the same way that pickles are pickled. It's in a pickling brine that they do this. This changes the flavor characteristics of the meat, and it changes the cooking characteristics of the meat. It also changes the appearance of the meat. After the meat is cooked, it maintains this red color. A little lighter, more on the pink side, but still it's a good rich red color. And the flavor is just wonderful. Now what we're going to get into today is how to prepare one of these in the appropriate way, and what we're going to start with is washing this. Now when you first remove one of these from the package, it is packed in its brining juices. Those brining juices will not cook up well. They will taint the flavor of the meat, and we don't want that to happen. Okay? Put some water on here. We'll take that beef. Now the cut I am using here, the one I purchased, this is brisket. They usually do this of one of two cuts, which is a bottom round or brisket. And either cut is a fairly tough cut of meat, and they lend well to long cooking. One of the things I like about the brisket, though, is after it's cooked up, when you slice it, if you slice cross grain, it gives you a very easy to eat piece of meat. It doesn't seem tough or stringy. So, now I've washed this off real well. I want to take it and load it up into the pot that I'm going to boil it in. Now the pot that I have is a bit big for this one little cut of meat. However, later I'm going to be boiling cabbage and potatoes and carrots in that same pot. Now what you see me pull out here, and this usually comes with the corned beef almost always, is a little packet. And in this packet they'll have all kinds of seasonings. This one, it looks like it contains some fennel seed there, and mustard seed. There is very likely some bay leaf in this. It's usually an assortment of spices, and it's often going to be dependent upon the manufacturer as to what spices they put into that. So it can change from one brand to another. However, it'll almost always be just a little packet, just like that. Okay? Now, I have the corned beef washed off. Let's fill our pot with hot water, and I'm going to put it on to boil. We will get into the next step here in just a moment, which is removing the scum which comes off of this, and I'll explain that a little further in just a moment. Okay, we're back. Now, the temperature of the water is just now coming up and almost ready to boil. And if you'll notice, there's this white scum-like film that is developing on the surface. Now, what this is the meat and the fat in the meat that is releasing fats and also some of that brine, and the brine that they pickled it in, that is. And what we're trying to do is to get this out of the pot. So what you want to do is just to simply skim. We're skimming the scum. That's right, the scum always rises to the top. It's just like politics, people. Okay, so you see there, you want to take that and just have a bowl ready to put that off into. And as the meat comes up in temperature, it's going to keep putting off more and more of this. Try to remove as much of this as possible. If it cooks back down into the meat, it has a bittering effect and doesn't produce as good a quality of corned beef. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here and finish removing all of this. As it comes up in temperature and it starts to boil, this will actually dissipate and stop happening. So it doesn't take very long for you to get this off. Okay? So, keep skimming the scum, and if it was as easy in Washington, D.C. to remove the troublemakers there, then we would have a perfect country. Unfortunately, like I said before, the scum always rises to the top, doesn't it? This is a good example. Just take that off of there. I'm sorry, I'm getting too political. Just take all of that off, and once it comes to a boil, I'm going to then add in that little seasoning packet and boil it down in there with it. Once the meat becomes fork tender, meaning I can push a fork down into it and it slides back out easily, I'll then pull the meat out, set it aside to rest, and throw in my quartered cabbage and potatoes. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Our meat has now come to a full boil. I've gotten most of the scum that has formed off of the top. I wanted to show you, this one really kicked off quite a bit, but this is what you're looking to remove, and it's a very nasty, ugly, disgusting looking thing. So don't let that bother you. Don't let the appearance of it bother you. And also, the appearance of the roast, it doesn't look very appetizing at this point, okay? When it's in its boil, it's kind of an ugly thing. It looks good once it has been taken out and sliced, okay? And that's something that we're going to show you in a little bit. Looks like I've got just a little bit more of that forming on the edge here. I'm going to pull that out. Okay. This is coming right along. It's about time for me to go ahead and put in my seasoning packet, which I have handy here. I'll slice that open, pour it right down in there. Okay. Now I want to take this, cover it, reduce it to simmer, and let it simmer. This is going to take 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes these things take as long as 4 hours, okay? So just be patient with it. Give yourself lots of cooking time when you make one of these, okay? It's a very easy meal, and it's all going to be a one-pot meal. And that's the beauty of it. Very simple cooking. Go. Reduce my temperature so I'm not at a high rolling boil anymore. Covered. And we're ready to go and have a beer. Okay, I have now pulled my roast, this corned beef, out of the water. I've already cut up potatoes and carrots and dropped them down in there. Now generally potatoes and carrots being roots, they're going to take a little longer to cook. And if you notice, I cut them into fairly large pieces. This is quite on purpose. It's to allow the pieces to hold up well while they're boiling, but also at the same time, I just like large pieces on the plate. They can be cut down from there. If you want to speed the cooking process, though, cut some smaller pieces. That'll hurry it up a little bit. Now, I'm going to test those with a fork also, and when they start getting a little bit tender, I'm going to add the cabbage, these wedges, and this is just a quartered cabbage head is all it is. I'm just going to drop them right down in there, put the lid back on it, and once that cabbage becomes tender, everything is ready, okay? So everything's already cooking in the same pot like I mentioned earlier. All the seasoning is in here because there's a seasoning that we added for the meat, plus the flavor of the meat's having cooked out, and that's just going to lend to the flavor of the vegetables. It makes everything work together on this dish. So my roast I'm going to have to put in a warm oven just to keep it warm while these are cooking, and then we'll slice it up and have some lunch today. There we have it. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Give it a try. It's a real easy do, especially if you're a young cook or a first-time cook, new cook. Then you'll find this to be really fun. This is very common on St. Patrick's Day. Try this with some beer, a nice dark beer, or okay, there we have it. Corned beef with cabbage. Now, potatoes, carrots. As you can see, as we mentioned before, you have a situation where that meat, because of the brining process, the pickling process, is going to keep that red color, and that's perfectly normal. That had been boiled for 3 hours, so it's thoroughly cooked. I hope you enjoy yours. Give this a try. It is well worth the effort. Enjoy and good eating. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.